My father left me a $10 million farmhouse, filled with his legacy and my memories. That night, my husband and mother-in-law arrived with fake documents, demanding it. When I refused, they dragged me to the train tracks and tied me there. As I struggled, they set my farmhouse ablaze. Flames lit up the sky as their cruel laughter echoed. The sound of the approaching train grew louder, but they didn't realize I wasn't ready to give up. A few hours later, I gave them a shocking surprise they never expected. Hello, my name is Linda, and I'm 30 years old. I grew up in the small city of Brookhaven, nestled in the countryside near an old railway line. Life here was peaceful and quiet, surrounded by rolling hills and fields that stretched as far as the eye could see. My father, who passed away a few months ago, left me his most cherished possession, a $10 million farmhouse that he built with his own hands. For me, the farmhouse wasn't just a house. It was a sanctuary. After his death, I decided to move in, hoping it would keep me close to him in some way. The house was a place of memories, laughter, and warmth, a symbol of everything my father worked so hard to achieve. Little did I know, it would also become the center of a battle I never asked for. One quiet evening, as I sat on the porch sipping tea and letting the stillness of the countryside comfort me, my peace was shattered by a knock on the door. I opened it to find my husband, Alex, and his mother, Nora, standing on the doorstep. Their presence immediately unsettled me. Alex and I had been married for 5 years, but our relationship had always been distant. He worked as a sales executive in the nearby city, spending more time at work than at home. As for Nora, she never liked me, often making snide comments about how I wasn't good enough for her son. Linda, Alex said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation, we need to talk. I frowned, feeling a wave of unease as Alex placed a stack of papers on the kitchen table. Nora followed him inside, her face smug as usual. What's going on? I asked, my voice wary. These are legal documents, Alex said, gesturing toward the papers. Dad signed this farmhouse over to us before he passed. It's all official. His words hit me like a thunderbolt. My father? Giving away the farmhouse? That was impossible. He loved this place more than anything and had made it clear to me it would be mine. That can't be true, I said, my voice shaking. Dad would never do that. He did, Nora cut in, her tone dripping with condescension. He knew you couldn't manage this place on your own. He wanted it to stay in capable hands. I picked up the papers, my hands trembling. They looked real, official seals, signatures, and all, but I knew my father better than anyone. There was no way these documents were genuine. This is fake, I said firmly, pushing the papers back toward Alex. I'm not signing anything. Alex's jaw tightened and his eyes darkened. You don't know what you're talking about, he snapped. These documents are legally binding. Then prove it in court, I shot back. Until then, get out of my house. Nora's smirk twisted into a scowl. You ungrateful little, she began, but Alex raised his hand, silencing her. Fine, he said, his tone icy. But you'll regret this, Linda. They stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind them. A cold knot of fear settled in my stomach. Alex's calm, yet calculating expression unnerved me. I wanted to believe their threats were empty, but deep down, I knew this was far from over. The following days were eerily quiet. I tried to distract myself by working around the farmhouse, cleaning the rooms, tending to the garden, and taking long walks through the rolling fields. But no matter what I did, Alex and Nora's visit lingered in my mind like a dark cloud. Their words, their smug expressions, and the fake documents, it all felt like the beginning of something much worse. I began revisiting my father's old files and letters, hoping to find any paperwork that could refute Alex's claim. My father was meticulous, always keeping records of everything important. But despite hours of searching, I found nothing that directly addressed the ownership of the farmhouse. This only deepened my frustration. At night, I found it hard to sleep. Every creak of the wooden floors or rustle of leaves outside the window set my nerves on edge. I couldn't shake the feeling that Alex and Nora were watching, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Then, one evening, I decided to go for a walk along the train tracks that bordered the edge of the property. The fresh air and rhythmic hum of distant trains often calmed me. But as I approached the tracks, something caught my eye, a faint glow in the direction of the farmhouse. My stomach churned. Smoke was curling into the twilight sky, faint but unmistakable. Panic surged through me as I broke into a sprint, my heart pounding with every step. As I neared the driveway, I froze. Alex and Nora were standing there, silhouetted against the faint light of the setting sun. Their faces were cold and triumphant, like predators closing in on their prey. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "We warned you, Linda," Alex said, taking a step closer. His voice was calm, but there was an edge of menace in his tone. "You should have signed the papers." Before I could respond, Nora grabbed my arm with surprising strength. I yanked back, but Alex was already pulling out a coil of thick rope. My pulse raced as I realized what was happening. "Let me go," I screamed, thrashing against them, but their grip was unrelenting. "You're going to learn the hard way," Nora sneered. They dragged me toward the train tracks with a determination that chilled me to the bone. My feet dug into the dirt, and I struggled with everything I had, but they were too strong. The faint rumble of a distant train sent a shiver down my spine. "Please stop," I cried out, desperate, but my pleas fell on deaf ears. They forced me onto the ground and tied me tightly to the rails. The ropes cut into my wrists and ankles as I thrashed against them, panic surging through me. Alex knelt beside me, holding the stack of legal documents in front of my face. "Sign the papers," he demanded, his voice cold and devoid of any affection. "Never," I spat, glaring at him through tears. "You'll never get this house." "Suit yourself," Nora hissed, her voice filled with venom. "Enjoy the show." With that, they turned and walked away, leaving me tied to the tracks. I strained against the ropes, my wrists burning as I twisted and pulled, but they wouldn't budge. The sound of the train's whistle blaring in the distance made my blood run cold. The vibrations grew stronger, rattling the steel beneath me. Desperation fueled me as I searched for anything that could help. I spotted a jagged edge on the rail and began rubbing the ropes against it with all my strength. My arms ached, and my breath came in ragged gasps, but I couldn't give up. The train's horn blared louder, and the light from its headlights pierced the darkness. My heart pounded as the train approached, its speed unforgiving. The ground trembled violently beneath me. Just as the train's lights engulfed me, the rope snapped. I rolled off the tracks, landing hard on the gravel as the train thundered past, missing me by mere inches. For a moment, I lay there, gasping for breath, my body trembling from the adrenaline coursing through me. Then, I looked up and saw flames erupting from the farmhouse. My heart broke as I realized Alex and Nora had set it on fire. My sanctuary, my father's legacy, was being consumed by the inferno. But as the flames crackled and roared, something inside me shifted. They thought they destroyed me, but they were wrong. They had only awakened a part of me that refused to be defeated. I stood up shakily, my body sore and bruised, but my resolve stronger than ever. I couldn't let Alex and Nora get away with this. They thought I was powerless, but they underestimated me. The first thing I did was call the police. My voice was unsteady as I explained everything that had happened. "They tied me to the train tracks," I said, struggling to keep my composure. "And they set my house on fire. You have to come quickly." The officer on the other end seemed skeptical at first, but promised to send a unit to investigate. I knew I needed more than just my word to prove what had happened. That's when I remembered the security cameras my father had installed around the property. I hurried toward the scorched remains of the estate, hoping against hope that the footage had survived. One of the cameras near the train tracks had melted partially from the fire, but when I checked the memory card, it was intact. Relief washed over me as I pocketed it. This evidence could expose Alex and Nora for what they had done. The next morning, I contacted Mr. Bennett, a lawyer my father had trusted for years. He was an older man with a sharp mind and a reputation for being relentless in court. When I explained what had happened, he listened intently, his expression growing darker with each detail. "This is a serious matter, Linda," he said after I finished. "If those documents they presented are fraudulent, we can challenge their entire scheme in court. And with the security footage, we have a strong case." "I don't care how long it takes," I replied, my voice firm. "I want justice, not just for me, but for my father's memory." Over the next few days, we worked tirelessly. Mr. Bennett reviewed the documents Alex had presented and quickly found glaring inconsistencies. The signatures didn't match my father's handwriting, and the dates were suspiciously close to his death. It was clear these papers were forgeries. Meanwhile, I handed over the footage from the security camera to the police. Watching it was gut-wrenching. There, in vivid detail, was Alex tying me to the tracks while Nora looked on with a twisted smile. The video also captured them setting the farmhouse ablaze before walking away, leaving me to face a moving train. The police investigation gained momentum as witnesses came forward. One neighbor recalled seeing Alex and Nora's car near the property on the night of the fire. Another mentioned hearing shouting and the sound of the train's whistle. Their testimonies added weight to my case. Despite the mounting evidence, I couldn't shake my nerves. I knew how cunning Alex and Nora could be, and I feared they might find a way to evade justice. The trial took place a few weeks later in a packed courtroom. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Mr. Bennett by my side. Across the room, Alex and Nora sat together, their faces a mix of defiance and unease. Alex occasionally glanced in my direction, but I refused to meet his gaze. The prosecutor began by presenting the forged documents Alex had used to claim ownership of the farmhouse. An expert handwriting analyst took the stand and explained how the signatures were fraudulent. "These signatures do not match the known samples of the deceased's handwriting," the expert stated confidently. Additionally, the dates on the documents are suspicious, indicating they were created posthumously. The jury leaned forward, hanging on every word. Next, the prosecutor introduced the security footage. The room fell silent as the video played on a large screen. It showed Alex and Nora tying me to the train tracks, setting the farmhouse on fire, and walking away as the flames consumed the property. My stomach churned as I relived the ordeal, but I kept my gaze on the jury, watching their expressions shift from shock to disgust. When the video ended, the prosecutor addressed the jury. "This footage leaves no room for doubt. The defendant's actions were deliberate, malicious, and intended to cause both physical and emotional harm." Witnesses were called to testify. A neighbor described seeing Alex's car near the property on the night of the fire. Another recalled hearing my screams and the approaching train whistle. Each testimony painted a damning picture of Alex and Nora's actions. During the cross-examination, the prosecutor questioned Alex directly. "Isn't it true," the prosecutor asked, "that you and your mother tied your wife to the train tracks and set her house on fire in an attempt to force her to sign over the property?" Alex hesitated, his usual charm faltering under pressure. I don't recall," he stammered, his voice shaking. "You don't recall," the prosecutor pressed, his tone sharp. "Or do you not want to admit the truth because you've been caught?" The courtroom was tense, the silence heavy. Alex glanced nervously at Nora, who muttered something under her breath, but it was too late. The evidence against them was overwhelming. The trial reached its climax with closing arguments. The prosecutor delivered a powerful summation, highlighting Alex and Nora's greed, cruelty, and complete disregard for human life. They didn't just forge documents, the prosecutor stated firmly. They attempted to take everything from Linda, including her life. Their actions were calculated and malicious, and justice demands accountability. The defense's arguments were weak and unconvincing. They tried to portray the incident as a misunderstanding and claimed the video didn't show the full context. The jury's expressions, however, made it clear they weren't buying these excuses. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned to the courtroom. My heart pounded as the forepersons stood and cleared their throat. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendants, Alex Carter and Nora Carter, guilty. On the charge of arson, we find the defendants guilty. On the charge of attempted harm, we find the defendants guilty. The words washed over me, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a weight lift off my chest. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I held them back. Justice had prevailed. The judge sentenced Alex and Nora to lengthy prison terms, 15 years each for arson and attempted harm, along with an additional 5 years for fraud. They were also ordered to pay restitution for the damages caused by the fire. As they were led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, Alex shot me a glare filled with anger and defeat. But I didn't flinch. I wanted him to see that I was no longer afraid. In the weeks that followed, I began the process of rebuilding both the farmhouse and my life. The insurance settlement and restitution funds provided the resources I needed to restore the property. It wasn't just about replacing the walls and roof. It was about reclaiming the legacy my father had left behind. The local community rallied around me. Neighbors who had testified became friends, offering their support and encouragement. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of belonging and strength. One afternoon, as I stood in the field watching workers lay the foundation for the new farmhouse, a wave of peace washed over me. The memories of my father's laughter, his wisdom, and his unwavering love for this place filled my heart. I knew he would be proud of the resilience and determination I had shown. Looking back, I realized that Alex and Nora's betrayal hadn't broken me. It had transformed me. I discovered a strength I didn't know I had and learned the importance of fighting for what is right. The farmhouse would stand again, not just as a home, but as a symbol of resilience and truth. Justice had been served, and I could finally begin to heal. Thank you for joining Linda's incredible journey of resilience and justice. Stories like these remind us of the strength we all carry within ourselves and the importance of standing up for what's right. If you enjoyed this story and want more captivating tales, like this video to show your support. Comment below with your thoughts, favorite moments, or any lessons you took away from the story. Your feedback means the world to us. Subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more empowering stories of courage, betrayal, and triumph. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's continue building a community that celebrates truth, resilience, and justice. Thank you for being part of this journey.